It was a typical, uneventful night at the hospital, with only a handful of patients trickling in with minor injuries. As a student nurse, desperately seeking something to alleviate the boredom, I stumbled upon a captivating Craigslist ad, beckoning medical professionals to partake in a groundbreaking study on an experimental medication. The ad seductively promised good compensation for a mere few hours of labor. As a single mother, the allure of extra cash became irresistible. Without a second thought, I dared to dial the number listed, and in an instant, my connection was forged with a mysterious figure named Dr. Frank. His voice dripped with an aura of calculated politeness, shrouded in an air of professional intrigue. We revealed the study's aim, gaining insight into a fresh painkiller that had promising early results. In the interest of advancing science, Dr. Frank persuaded me to participate and contribute to the study of its effects. I gave in to his persuasive arguments despite the uncertainty and set an appointment for the following day. Upon my arrival at the clinic the following day, an eerie sense of unease gripped my very core, refusing to release its clutches. The decaying structure loomed before me, a haunting relic of neglect, with its peeling paint and flickering lights casting grotesque shadows upon the desolate corridors. As I cautiously ventured inside, Dr. Frank emerged from the shadows, a foreboding figure beckoning me towards a cramped and claustrophobic examination room. With an unsettling smile, he placed a single pill in my trembling palm before vanishing into the darkness, leaving behind an ominous promise to return to check on me in a few hours. Initially, the effects of the pill seemed small as it clouded my senses. I attributed the dizziness and confusion to the anticipated side effects of the medication. As the minutes dragged into hours, the halls twisted into eerie chambers of shadows, where lurking phantoms appeared to murmur maliciously. Through the darkly lit hallways, unsettling noises echoed. I called out to Dr. Frank in a desperate attempt to find comfort and answers, but when he didn't respond, the eerie stillness that followed pierced my spirit and made me realize how completely alone I was. As I lay on the exam table, an unsettling feeling of being watched consumed me. My attempts to leave were hindered by heavy limbs. It was in that harrowing moment of vulnerability that my eyes fixed upon the embodiment of malevolence itself, a shadowy figure, its form shrouded in darkness, haunting the corner of the room. Dr. Frank barged in, panic-stricken, and urgently guided me through a dark hallway. Sinister sounds followed us. We reached the outside, where the building had vanished into an empty lot. Bewildered and consumed by confusion, I ran until I reached home. Later, I discovered Dr. Frank's true nature. The Craigslist ad, a honey trap of deceit, had lured countless vulnerable medical students into its clutches. I had lost my money, but gained gratitude for surviving the terrifying event. The television blared with breaking news as the arrest of Dr. Frank was announced, bringing forth the answers I had desperately sought. The medication he had administered to me was not a legitimate treatment, but rather a potent hallucinogen, specifically designed to plunge me into a labyrinth of horrifying illusions, effectively imprisoning me within the clinic's walls. The nightmare that unfolded during those hours would forever be etched in my memory, serving as a chilling reminder of the perils lurking behind the veil of online anonymity and the grave consequences of placing trust in strangers from the vast expanses of the internet. As the night grew late, I stumbled upon a peculiar advertisement on Craigslist. It caught my attention, an intriguing listing for a charming, small cabin nestled in the woods. Surprisingly, the price was remarkably low. Intrigued, I decided to seize the opportunity and book the cabin for the weekend. As I approached the cabin, a sense of unease washed over me. The dark, winding roads and the foreboding silence of the woods heightened my apprehension. The cabin itself was smaller than expected, nestled amidst towering trees. Its abandoned state was evident from the musty smell that permeated the air. Despite the gloomy atmosphere, I reassured myself that it was merely my imagination playing tricks on me. As night settled in and I sought some rest, strange occurrences unfolded. The cabin echoed with creaks and footsteps, as if an invisible entity wandered its rooms. To my surprise, the door swung open and shut, and the windows rattled despite the calm weather outside. These eerie occurrences continued throughout the night, leaving me exhausted and anxious. In the morning, as I tried to leave, a wave of panic washed over me. The door stubbornly refused to budge, trapping me inside the cabin. Trapped inside, I felt helpless. No signal on my phone, no way to seek help. The cabin revealed unsettling symbols and mysterious stains on its walls and floor, adding to the eerie atmosphere. As night fell, eerie whispers and sinister voices echoed from the walls. The unrelenting feeling of being watched intensified, fueling my dread. Time slipped away, amplifying the sense of impending doom. I had to escape, urgently seeking a way out before it was too late. After what felt like an eternity, I shattered the door and fled the accursed cabin. But there was no hope. Shadowy figures pursued me relentlessly, their silent presence haunting every corner I turned. As their whispers echoed behind me, their words barely discernible, I could make out a single haunting term: sacrifice. A tiny bit of safety loomed ahead in the form of a dark cave. I stepped inside without thinking, trying to get away from the constant threat I was under. The cave was completely dark, but once my eyes adjusted, I noticed that the creatures had disappeared. I noticed a strange object on the ground, a piece of black fabric with a large red circle on it. Feeling its inexplicable significance, I instinctively wrapped it around me like a protective cloak. I made my way out of the house, determined to find my way back. In the narrow cave, the walls closed in, suffocating me. Lost in the labyrinthine mountain, I fought against the darkness and oppressive weight of the solid rock. Emerging on the other side, distant lights offered hope. Tears of relief welled up as I searched for a vehicle to escape. The exhilaration of freedom washed over me as I returned unarmed. I conducted extensive research on the location. It appeared that the site had a history of ritualistic killings, which eventually ceased without a clear explanation. The motive behind those horrific acts remained shrouded in mystery. Despite the expectation that the killings would have ceased, shockingly, they were still ongoing. Determined to take action, I returned to report the sinister cabin on Craigslist, only to find that it had vanished without a trace. No trace of its existence remained, leaving me utterly bewildered. Though perplexed by the mystery surrounding that place, I chose not to dwell on it excessively and moved forward with my life. As time passed, occasional thoughts of that haunting place lingered in my mind. However, one thing remains crystal clear: I will never set foot there again, for the memory of its horrors is etched deeply within me. I was sitting at my desk, anxious for employment, scrolling through Craigslist's job postings. I was prepared to take on any opportunity at this point that would help me support my children financially, especially in light of the pressure on my marriage. I formerly had a nice job and was a successful person, but sad events caused my termination. Despite my great qualifications, I was now jobless and encountered rejection everywhere I went. It was incredibly discouraging, but I knew I had to persist and carry on. I found a suspicious job posting for a logistics and transportation company. The pay seemed unusually high for a driving position, raising my suspicions. Despite my doubts, I decided to call the number listed in the ad. Surprisingly, the business owner answered and invited me for a meeting. I met the owner at the rundown warehouse the next day. Despite my reservations, I was drawn in by the promise of lucrative pay. He explained the job requirements during the interview, emphasizing the need for constant transportation and long hours without breaks. I accepted the job offer, enticed by the income. The initial weeks went smoothly as I loaded the cargo onto the truck and embarked on long-distance journeys. The generous pay helped support my family. However, as time passed, peculiar incidents unfolded during my late-night drives. Unsettling sounds came from the back of the truck, as if the cargo itself were alive and restless. Despite my best efforts to dismiss it as my imagination, the reality became impossible to ignore. The interior of the truck's cargo hold bore unmistakable scratches, as if caused by sharp objects like nails. Then one night, while driving through a desolate stretch of highway, my GPS abruptly ceased functioning. I pulled over, hoping to consult a map, but what I witnessed sent chills down my spine. In the distance, a creature emerged, its monstrous form steadily advancing towards me. With every passing moment, it drew closer, resembling a wild beast. Fear gripped me, and I hurriedly sought refuge inside the truck, slamming the door shut and locking it. Yet the relentless creature persisted, violently scratching at the door, its determination to gain entry sending shivers down my spine. Frantically starting the engine, I sped away in the truck, desperate to escape. To my astonishment, the entity effortlessly matched my speed, relentlessly pursuing me. The gravity of the situation dawned on me. I was in grave danger, alone on a desolate highway, being chased by an inexplicable force. Eventually, the entity mysteriously vanished from sight, and I realized I couldn't continue this job for much longer. My nerves were still shaken by anxiety. I contacted my employer and demanded an explanation since I was determined to learn more. He was extremely cool during the chat. He explained that I had been moving livestock for a specific business, and the thing that was pursuing me was also after the load. Even though I wanted to leave right away, my supervisor quickly increased my pay and offered to quadruple it if I continued. I reluctantly agreed to carry on working, since I was motivated by the idea of giving my kids a better life. The creature only occasionally showed up. I'm still not at all at ease about the issue, but I put up with terrible conditions because I want to protect my kids, and I'll stop at nothing to make that happen. For more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and turn on notification bell to never miss any update.